Hey everyone, it's the Shnakey back again with another review video. Today taking a look at the AGP Tech HD Video Capture Model 284. Now just to be aware, this goes as EasyCap in America, and I wanted to do a review on what a cheaper capture card will actually be like and how it will perform. I got this one for €50, which would be in and around something like $65, so well below the price point that you would be expecting to pay. Now this thing, again, prices may vary. I'm talking about €50 when I bought it, and there was a discount code on Amazon, hence why I actually took note of it, and the reviews were fairly positive. The only thing that people are complaining about were things like it doesn't do 60 frames a second, only does 30 frames a second at 1080p. It does do 60 frames per second at 720p, but just be aware of that. It doesn't do it at 1080. Now, I got this because I wanted to try out something slightly cheaper, and you know, a lot of people say these cheaper Chinese models aren't going to be that good, but I'm going to do a quick unboxing and then we're going to take a look at the device itself. So it comes in a pretty plain box. We're going to slide the top off here. The first thing we're greeted with is this adapter. This will actually allow you to hook it up to older consoles which are using the composite cables, so things like the Xbox 360 use them if you didn't have a HDMI cable, and the PS4 as well. It's also great for recording old devices. As you can see here, you've got your old red, yellow and white cables for recording your video and sound, and those are good for older consoles, Sega, the Sega Genesis, should I say, and the Super Nintendo. All of those you'll be able to use these cables for. So it's good for retro gaming as well, and that connects into the actual device itself. So that comes included in the box. It also comes with a power brick, which I haven't taken out of the packaging simply because I connected into my Xbox One with the USB cable to take power, the micro USB, so yeah, that's not really a problem for me. I don't need that. Then you get your standard affair, you get your drivers, your HD video capture drivers. I didn't use these, I used different video editing softwares. There was no need for me to have them. And then you get yourself a manual, which again I didn't really read, but it gives you all of the instructions there, tells you all the different connections that it has on it, and the great thing about this is that it's really easy to use, and I'll explain to you why it is so easy to use later on. Finally, in the bottom of the box you actually have the device itself. If you move that out of the way, this is what it looks like, the AGP Tech 1080p video capture. You've got two little indicators here, one for when HDMI is plugged in and one when you have the AV or the older composite cables plugged in. This is the button you press here when you want to start capturing. On this side of it here you have an IR sensor, which you can't actually see. Over on this side you have your device storage connectivity. You can either connect a USB device to it, and it'll also take an SD card, but very fiddly to try and get SD cards to work with this, so I would recommend a USB drive instead. Over on the back we've got our HDMI out, our line out for audio out obviously, and your microphone for audio in for recording, your AV in, which is used for those cables that I showed you earlier on, and your HDMI in. So a very tidy unit indeed. On this side then you just have your actual power, and as I said, I have mine connected to the Xbox One, so I don't have to use the power brick. On the bottom you've got some ventilation, and that is pretty much it. A nice tidy device, and doesn't look very out of place on your cabinet. So yeah, really good overall. Build quality, it's fairly plasticky, but it's what you'd expect for something cheap like this. I wouldn't risk dropping it on the ground, I'll put it that way. I definitely think that you would want to be careful with it, and I've had a few falls at the moment because it is so light. The plastic is so light, it has a tendency to, you know, flop around the place. If you have a rigid HDMI cable plugged into the back of this and you jerk the HDMI cable, it could go flying on the ground. So just make sure you have it somewhere stable. I actually have one of my speakers sat on top of it just to anchor it down with a bit of weight, but if that is going to be a problem for you, you just might want to take note of it. Now, in terms of the actual storage and how this device works, I have mine connected with a USB 3.0 pen drive or flash drive. It doesn't support USB 3.0, but I just have it in there because it's a nice fast drive anyways to begin with, and it records directly onto this. There's no need for a PC whatsoever, and I just think that the ease of use of this is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to show you, and the next clip is going to be basically of this plugged in and how you would actually go about recording on it, so stay tuned. Okay, so I have the device set up. It's drawing power from my Xbox One via USB. I've got my GPD XD console plugged into the HDMI in because that's what I want to record, obviously. And then on this one, I have it connected the HDMI out to my TV so I can actually see what's happening up on the screen. Now, I forgot to mention earlier on that the device does come with a remote control, so it means you can record from a distance. I found it to be a little bit fiddly. The infrared is pretty poor on it, but if you don't want to get up off the couch to have to record something, it is functional within a reasonable distance. So you can also do things like take a snapshot on it as well there, as you can see. But overall a bit gimmicky, so I wouldn't really recommend this. But now let's actually go and start to record something, and I can show you how it works. So I have my Lexar jump drive here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this side and I'm going to connect it into the USB port that I showed you earlier on this side. Plug it in, it starts to flash a little bit, and once it goes solid, which it has, that means it's ready to record. That's actually registered that it's plugged into the device. Now, as I said, you can press the record button on the remote control, but we're going to do it on the actual device itself, and it is literally this simple. When you want to start recording, you just press on this button here, and you get your red LED indicator, and that's it. As long as that stays solid, you are recording. Now, if any of these lights are flashing, it means you have a problem. If this one is flashing here, it means that your HDMI source isn't being recognized. I've never seen that to happen before. Most HDMI sources work just fine. If you were using your AV, obviously this one would be lighting up and the HDMI would just be flashing. If this is flashing, it means that it's not actually recording. It's trying to locate the device to record on, and your device may not be compatible, so you may need to get a different USB drive. However, most of mine that I tried actually worked in it. And this is just your power indicator here, and obviously if that's not on, it means you're not getting power, or something seriously wrong. So again, very, very easy to identify what's happening. When you want to stop the recording, you simply just press on the button again. It starts to flash for a second or two because it's writing obviously onto the memory stick, and that's it. Once it stops flashing red, you're free to plug back out your memory stick like this. And now I can go ahead, and I actually have my video recording ready to go, and I can plug it into my laptop. I can do it to my phone in this case because it's a jump drive, which is quite handy. Really, really recommend these. And that's it. It's that simple. So now I'm going to head over and show you some of the actual recordings that this thing takes, and you can see what the quality is like for yourself, and also discuss some ins and outs of the format that it's recorded in. And now on to the part of the video which everyone will probably be most interested in, and that is the quality of the recording. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about before I go into that in detail is I tested these clips with two different video editing packages, the first one being Adobe Premiere Pro and the second being Sony Vegas, because they're probably the two most widely used. Sony Vegas had a bit of a problem with bringing the clips directly into the timeline. What I found I had to do first was go into VLC and convert the clips. Now, when I converted them, I actually selected to keep the original audio and video files, so it didn't actually decrease the quality at all, but they seem to come in a slightly unusual container when they're recorded first, and that causes a bit of a problem for Sony Vegas. So it takes a little bit of time. On average I found it was around 20 to 30 seconds to convert the clips, but it was overall a fairly quick process, so just be aware of that. It's one thing that you might want to take into consideration. I didn't have the same problem with Premiere Pro, but I suppose Premiere Pro is it's a fairly widely used and professional package, so maybe it has something extra that can detect the codecs, but I just said I'd bring it up. So we have some Shadow of War gameplay going on here, and we had some UFC 2 there a minute ago. Shadow of War, incidentally, is a fairly dark game, so it's often quite difficult to capture details on these levels, but this is a very usable footage, and so was the UFC 2 footage, and I think extremely usable is the phrase that I've come to associate with this device. It just works, and you plug in your memory stick and you're good to go. There's no messing around with connecting to laptops, and very reminiscent of the AverMedia devices in a lot of ways. So yeah, I mean, it's overall very, very easy to set up and very easy to capture the footage that you want, and with that remote control as well, when it does work, it means you can do it from the comfort of your couch. Now I have some NBA 2K18 footage going for you here, slightly brighter game, and overall just will allow you to see what the quality is like a bit more. Now, in terms of things that I have noticed, on top of the bitrate maybe not being as high as some of the other really well known devices out there. I also noticed there's a little bit of sharpening going on with the footage, and you'll probably notice that around the edges on some of the text. Again, it's minimal, and in fact you can counteract that with your video editing software, but these are actually the original clips, and I haven't edited them in any way, just so you can see the quality perfectly for yourself without any sort of editing being put in there at all. And I think this on a whole is a YouTube orientated device. If you have a YouTube channel you want to get gameplay up onto quickly, record directly onto the memory stick into your computer and upload there. You can even upload directly onto YouTube if you don't want to put commentary over it. And while it's that easy to use, it also produces great looking content, as you're seeing on the screen here. It's not 60 frames a second, it's 30 frames a second, but still in all, very, very good and very nice. I mean, a few years ago you wouldn't have been able to record footage like this on a device that costs €50. It would have cost you a lot more to get a full HD recording device. Now 60 frames a second is what a lot of the bigger commentators are using, but a lot of them are playing on PC and things like that. A lot of the console games are capped at 30 frames a second anyways, so I don't really see that as being a big problem for me at all. This device is also capable of live streaming, meaning you can stream to Twitch or YouTube because of drivers that have recently been released for it by the developers. So on a whole, very, very versatile, and I can't really fault the quality of the footage that it puts out for everyday YouTube use. So to summarise, the AGP Tech or EasyCap 284 that records HD 1080p sources at 30 frames a second, how does it fare up? In my opinion, very well. I'm not somebody who, records professionally, and I do a bit of YouTube as a hobby, and that's about it. And for me, recording my games, as long as the quality is clear, the colours are on point, and there's no jumping or hiccuping, I'm absolutely fine with that sort of quality, and that's what this device provides me with. So if you're someone who just wants something that isn't at a professional level, this will do you just great. Obviously there's some serious advantages to getting something like an Elgato HD 60 or just the regular HD version, but in the real world not everyone has that money to spend, and if you're just looking for some good quality footage that's easy to record, this device has you covered. One other point that I did mention about this that also makes it a huge selling point is the fact that you don't need to have a good computer to use this. With the Elgato, that actually uses processing power of your PC when it's connected into it to render the footage. So it actually is, I won't say leeching off your PC, but using your PC's resources. And if you don't have a good computer, which some people don't have because they put their money into their console gaming, this device is perfect for you because there's no PC even needed. You don't need to connect it to your PC. It has no interaction with the PC whatsoever. But overall, for the price, I cannot argue with this product, and I have to say it is a massive recommendation from me. It has lots of little bonuses and things that make it very, very good, like the recording straight onto the storage is great, and I think that's, it's a real easy to use device, and I think it aimed at that market. As I said, I purchased this for €50, which is in and around $65 to $70. It may cost more now, I don't know, and it may cost more in the States, but I would look out for it on Amazon, which is where I purchased it from, if you can get hold of one. As you saw, there's good quality as well from the clips. That was the last section that we looked at there. So overall, a really, really good package. If you have any questions on the product, please ask me, because I can answer most things about this. I've had it now for a good amount of time, and I'm become pretty familiar with it. So do ask me something in the comments below if you're unsure. And as I always say, like my videos and turn on notifications so you know when I'm going to upload my next video, because my upload schedule, as always, is very erratic. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care.